Oh, we're live.
We're doing my left side.
Oh, sorry. Oh, we're doing left
We're
side.
doing left side for the camera. This feels dangerous.
Take a wild guess what we're going to talk about today at 40 Fit Food.
Straight punching! Welcome to 40 Fit Food, everyone!
Episode 50.
4.
Oh,
I know you heard this before.
I think I wrote 53, so I might have written the wrong number down.
I didn't, so tune in on my side for the right number.
Yeah.
Not that it matters. But anyway, we are here to discuss the cut eyebrow kick or the outside crescent or the however your style or whatnot. But we do it in both Kung Fu and Tai Chi.
We do, and we talked about this today because specifically we've run into people, students, learning the cut eyebrow kick for the first time and having some difficulties, and it is actually a complicated move. If you think about it, there's a lot of things that are going on. So we wanted to break it down a little bit on how you can progress it, especially if you're a little bit older and this is your first time doing cut eyebrow kicks. Those tissues have to get acclimated. There's a lot of different things going on. And there's a bunch of different ways we can approach this. So the first thing is, obviously, a cut eyebrow kick is what we were doing earlier.
Where the kick cuts across your eyebrow.
Right, you make kind of that crescent shape. And like Mimi said, it's kind of like, it could be an inside crescent kick also. Outside crescent kick. But you're making that crescent shape.
Or rainbow.
Or eyebrow shape, right. Rainbow's great, too. We're having a little bit of rain, so you may hear that in the background.
You know, because there was supposedly this hurricane passing Florida and all.
Yeah, exactly.
We are all safe, so we're very grateful for that. But we're thinking about Bahamas because, you know, we're hoping everything will recover okay. We're worried about them, but we are very fortunate here, and we just got a little bit of rain, a little bit of wind.
Excellent. So what we're going to do is just break down how we would teach it in class. So I'll let you start with, how do we do it for Kung Fu classes? Like, just go.
Well, are we talking about like the 3-year-olds, the adults, or the... Actually, I think they should all learn it kind of like the 3-year-olds. So first, we usually take our hill climbing stance. We want them to kind of start here. But let's actually rewind and see if people can stand on one foot, because we are talking about 40 Fit Food. So when we teach the Tai Chi class, when we teach some of your clients, we just like to see if like they can actually balance on one foot, because you are going to actually have to leave the ground with one of your legs, and so you want to make sure that we're able to kind of do our golden chickens first, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. If we're going to break it down to something that you can practice at home, first thing is, what does your single leg stance look like? And so if you're practicing that at home, you should try picking up your leg and seeing how you feel with balance. And yeah, a little hopping around like that is a sign that maybe you're not ready for a cut eyebrow kick. I think at the minimum, you should be able to hold it anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds. And that may sound like a lot once you're up there, but think about there's a lot of speed and kind of torque that's going on in a lot of different muscles and tissue that you may not be used to, so you have to be acclimated with balance. We did an episode talking about balance, but specifically for this one leg stance, and you may hear the rain, like I said in the background, specifically for this one leg stance, I like people to start with their feet touching. Make sure that they feel their base of support under 3 points, which is the knuckle under the big toe, knuckle under the pinky toe, and the knuckle under the heel. And then without trying to shift your weight, just raise your knees, raise your knee as high as you can. Maybe that's puberty. Puberty's finally hitting. Yeah, 40 years old. You raise your knee as high as you can, and then test what your hip flexion statically feels like, and then test what your hip extension feels like. And then you can try to get a little bit of momentum going.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, so this is kind of like one way to introduce the movement, because you're practicing balance, you're practicing your hip flexion, which is your knee coming towards you, and your hip extension, which is like the knee going away from you. And so that should be your first checklist. You should be able to do both of those, and then you can start getting a little momentum going. And I'm using my hands. You can keep your hands straight, but in the beginning, sometimes maybe using your hands for balance might work.
So basically, if we cannot balance on one foot, you have no business doing the kick yet.
Right, and if you can't,
so this is a checklist.
Yeah, and if you can't balance on one foot, then let's take it a step back. There's two main reasons why you may not be able to balance on one foot. There could be others, but we're just going to tackle two. One is you don't have the prerequisite mobility to get your knee up there. Like your hips may be so tight in your even this hamstring or your thoracic spine. Because the other thing to do is when you raise your knee, are you doing this, right? And that's a sign that you're not really ready for it. So one thing that could be holding you back is your mobility. So we did a foam rolling episode, so you can go back on kind of how to do a little bit of foam rolling, how to do some stretching. The other thing could be stability, your balance, and that starts with the foot. So I'm trying to find out which rabbit hole we don't want to go
So
down.
you just want your foot to be able to stay on the ground, and balance.
Yeah.
Go on.
So looking at the balance, right? And then the other thing that may have to do with your stability is your midsection, your core should reflexively fire to hold the knee up. Like if I'm just here, I see I'm getting a little flabby there. If I'm just here and I'm like losing balance, it could be that this is not firing the right way. So to make sure that this is on, one way to do that is to find a partner, or or find something to hold on to. But since we're here, I'm going to have Mimi just bring her feet together, touching, and they get nice and tall and press her palms down into my hands and give me a little bit more force, and then raise the knee up. And so what's happening there, just by her pressing, I'm going to let go, by her pressing her hands down, it reflexively fires the core, creates a little stability here, so that then it allows her to come up. So those are the two ways that maybe you need to work on the balance if your checklist of
All right, but let's say you got the big check, we're good on this, you're able to kind of get your knee up, because you don't actually have to have your knee like all the way up. You actually, just to kind of get started with the kick, we know you don't want to be just doing this one position forever, but if you can at least balance on one leg, it doesn't matter how high your knee is yet, you could actually start practicing. So then the next thing we do after we do our checklist is we get into our split stance, which is our hill climbing, right? And basically in order to do the shape of the kick, it's actually surprising, especially when we work with the little mantis and we work with even adults, how confusing the pattern is. So we just want to have that nice rainbow, that nice
and
arc.
Your leg is
and
inside,
so whatever leg is forward,
inside,
that hand is going to be the first hand that's going to be the target. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to kick your hands just yet, but even if you bring them here as just kind of a marker place for the path that you're going to take. So if this is 1 and this is 2, then where your back foot is number 3. So you're going to go into pattern of 1, 2, 3, and just kind of get that little motion first, right?
So I really like this because it's almost like learning how to dance.
Get into the motion.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you counting that in your while trying to do it will help. But I don't know. I just really like the idea of having set numbers and then a sequence.
Right. So if you're a walam, it'll be yat yi sam, right? So we're going yat yi sam, right? So right now, I'm not so concerned that your toe is pointed and that your knee is super straight, any of that. I just want you to kind of get the pattern of that movement, so that we're going in to out. So when we switch the other side, what often happens is when you guys switch sides, you end up kind of wanting to come inside. So you always want that same leg, same hand is 1, and you want to make sure you're 1. Now, if you can't even get the circular pattern, then just start off with the 1, so that you know your leg is actually kind of crossing the center line.
Crossing that center.
Right. So if this is my center line, right, and I'm doing straight leg kick, and I want to do the cut eyebrow, my leg's got to cross the center line first. So that's going to be yat yi and then sam in that small pattern. You don't have to go crazy yet. You're not like trying to, do the big kick.
Well, one thing I will mention is, remember we talked about the first step of just having the knee up and trying to make sure you maintain your posture.
Mm-hmm.
Just because Mimi's kicking, she's still maintaining that upright posture. So you don't want to reach. You don't want to reach for your leg with your hands. You want your leg to be reaching for your hands, and that might mean that maybe you're hitting your knees first, your thigh, depending
shin.
on your, and then your shin, and then your foot, right? And so that's one way to kind of progress it up. But numbers, start low, and then slightly raise up without losing
Right,
that
you
kind
want to
of thing.
maintain that posture, right? So it's not about bringing your body down to get your leg or feeling like you're higher because you're leaning. So you want to keep that posture, and again, just that circular pattern, right? So for Kung Fu class and for Kung Fu students, we're doing it from the hill climbing horse stance and bringing the leg back. We do want, eventually, once you kind of get that pattern, to get the leg straight and the toe
Pointing
pointed.
the toes.
Okay, so you want the toe pointed. This is not like straight leg where the leg is flexed.
Yeah, and one of the things we say sometimes to students, like, imagine someone's grabbed your foot and is kind of pulling on your toes and just, pointing them out
Sometimes we do
for
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes.
It's the like a blade that's cutting an eyebrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just do a quick recap because there's more to this, right? It's balance first, then make sure that you can maintain statically. Then you can add a little momentum with the knee bend to see what your balance is like. And then the 1, 2, 3 for you to start getting the order, 1, 2, 3. The benefit for the Kung Fu students of Walam is we do this in our basics every single class. There shouldn't be a class that you start that doesn't have cut eyebrow kicks at some point in it, right? Because that's how important it is for our style. For the Tai Chi practitioners, and you don't have to be a Walam Tai Chi practitioner, but if you're practicing the Yang style, the 108 movements, there is one move where the cut eyebrow kick comes in, and it is unfortunately all the way at the end. The second to last move or something like that,
It's
right?
like a very long and slow build.
Yeah, very low, right. And the entire form, 107 movements up to or however many 100 movements up to this point, are all slow and controlled. And then you go from this position here, you raise your knee, and you've got to whip a kick and circle around. I mean, we're asking a lot. Really, and
These old Tai Chi masters, I don't know what, it was like their joke.
I really think
It was like just throwing in a joke on everybody, like, haha.
Right, so you have to keep in mind, this is something that I just had a discussion with one of the Tai Chi students on Saturday, is what have you put the most amount of time in? And what we get is a lot of walking, hundreds and thousands of reps of just Tai Chi walking.
Right, a lot of
And then it's okay, now we're going to show you this last move of 108 movements, and it's a cut eyebrow kick. If you haven't put in the numbers, you can't expect to get it. We run into this a lot. So, especially for the Tai Chi people, take a few steps back and work your way up to it. But be patient and realize that you just haven't put as many reps into it. And that's not only is it because you haven't put that many reps in, but we're asking you to do a cut eyebrow kick in the most complicated way. Right.
So what we were teaching earlier for the, our basic Kung Fu style is like, we're grounded, we're set, we're ready, we're doing our kick. In the Tai Chi form, you actually have to hit the balance position first. Then
With the kick from
execute
here.
the kick from here.
Maintain the leg as you turn around. Sorry, I don't want to hit you. And then come down. I mean, slowly. It's asking a lot. It really is asking a lot.
So the progression for that, after you've mastered being on the ground, would be basically here and doing your 1, 2, 3, and then trying to come back to that stable position first. And then after that, your 1, 2, 3 stable position, holding the leg out.
Right.
See how long you can hold that out. And then after that, I would say even breaking that down and not even doing the kick, but just doing that pivoting movement, and being able to hold the leg out. So, again, it has to be broken down in order to get the numbers in.
And depending on your level and skill, and there are other factors. It depends on how much time you should put into it. But
a lot of time.
You should put in a lot. And also the other thing is even out. Practice your left side as well.
Yes.
Don't just work the right leg if that style is specifically dominant. One other way that you can practice this easily without adding too much dynamic things is we take a step back to when we were doing our balancing. So my feet are together, I bring my knee up, and then this is something that we did in Tai Chi class on Saturday if you were there, I said, imagine that you had high beams, your hips had lights, then I'd want you to just, without moving your foot, rotate as much as you can in each direction. And we're working on that dynamic foot stability, which is a nice way for you to test. If you can't even do that, you probably shouldn't be trying to whip a kick around. Right? If you're picking up a leg and you start moving, and you're like, oh, I'm about to lose my balance, then you probably haven't earned the right to whip the leg around just yet. So that's just another way to kind of throw that in there as a progression.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, you know, for our Tai Chi students, that's actually a really complicated move. So many variances there. But basically, if you get into your basic standing first, you want to be able to hit that kick and bring the leg back controlled, because you also don't want to just throw your kick and then hope it lands, right? You want to be able to place the kick down, because that'll also help you when you're doing your balance position, being able to control it. Like, you don't want to just throw the leg up and then let gravity take over. You actually have to control your kick all the way around, which is, of course, where the challenge is. So definitely doing it on both feet. Did you want to maybe talk a little bit about the Kung Fu application also, where like we're doing two-man form, you know, we also use that kick for timing. So that's where, you know, we were definitely learning to not just control it going down, but also to whip the leg fast enough, because in like a two-person set, we're going right into the next move, right? So there's a lot of use for this cut eyebrow kick. We do it in coordination sequences, but having that control starts with being able to do that basic, right? And so there, it just progresses into all sorts of other cool things, like the two-man set, and also the Tai Chi movement where you're doing it with the balance. So there's just like so many levels of the cut eyebrow kick. It's a very cool kick. And it makes a really cool sound if you're hitting your foot properly.
Yes, yes. It has that nice little slap if you get it just right. So let's just, real quick to recap it, is you gotta have the balance, right? And you have to have kind of a static ability to hold, hip flex, hip extended, and you gotta get a little bit of momentum going. And we would start working on bringing the kick from the floor, from low to high, okay? And then we can start thinking of, once you get a nice snap kick, nice cut eyebrow kick from low to high, then you can start practicing it, snapping it out from here, with the hip flex already, and then you start adding a little bit of rotation to it, and then you can add holding it out after the kick. So a ton of different paths to go, but just keep in mind with anything, how many numbers have you put in, right? And for something that's pretty complicated, like a cut eyebrow kick, if you don't have it just yet, you just probably haven't put in the right amount of numbers.
So how many would you say they should do per day?
It depends on the person, but what's realistic for you? I would say, if this is actually, listen to Culture Chat by Mimi Chan with her interview with Dave Whitley, and he had
Which was today's episode, actually.
He had a comment about kicks, and he says, what would you rather have? Someone who takes a kick and practices it 100 times that day, or would you rather have that person practice it 100 times over the course of the week, 10 times a day or something like that?
And correctly.
And correctly.
Yeah.
Or you could even say, and correctly. The person who practices it correctly spread out over time is going to be able to then apply that kick correctly when it's time, and not injure themselves, and it will be a more precise kick, a more accurate kick, it'll be more powerful than the person who just tries to do way more than what they're ready for in one session and is sore for a couple of days. So, bringing it back to your question of the number, even if you commit to 5 kicks a day or 10 kicks a day, is better than 100 kicks a day, rest.
Yeah, and those of you who joined us a few weeks ago with the Tom Tui Challenge, 1 squat a day, that adds up. So don't try to say, well, I'm going to do 200 kicks today, blah, 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 right? So just start off small, but actually committing to get those numbers in and doing it. So if you're a Kung Fu student, you're already coming to class, guess what? You're probably going to do at least 10. So good news there, you're getting some practice in. But those of you who are not, especially your Tai Chi class, you want to try to start doing this slow progression, and make sure it's safe, and if you feel pain, stop.
So, as always, if you have any questions, please let us know. If there's something that you would like us to talk about in a future 40 Fit Fu podcast episode, we would be happy to bring it up. Anything Kung Fu or fitness related, or if you just want us to talk about, I don't know, hip hop music, we'll do it.
Yeah.
So just
or
let
last
us
travels, as we like to travel.
Let us know what you want us to talk about. Food,
which it's time for food now. So.
And tune in next week, Tuesday, 7:45 p.m.
Yeah, subscribe, tell your friends. See you guys next week. Bye.